So back out on the trail of Robin Hood, and I've come to the heart of Shield Forest today. No better place to answer a few of these questions than right here, where he's alleged to have roamed. Saturday evening around 7 o'clock, and I've just landed. I had a bit of a false start actually. I set off, drove from home, got about 4 miles down the road and realised I hadn't put my boots in the car. I'm not going to get very far without them, so turned around, went back. I would have been here for about 6:30, but as it is, we've got the sun going down. It's quite low in the sky for this time of year actually, so I think sunset's due officially about between 9:15, something like that. What I want to do is head off down to where I think there might be potential for a wild camp. Well, there's potential all over this place, but I think out of respect I'll keep out of the heart of the forest. Last thing you want to be responsible for is any damage to this place. So I'm going to get a wiggle on, and when I pull up for a drink we'll dig into what I've come to term the layer cake of Robin Hood. And what I mean by layer cake of Robin Hood is basically that because of the amount of time that's passed since, I believe at least, the real man wandered this place, there have been many generations of speculation, story, song, ballad, play, poem, film. Even Kevin Costner got in on the act at one point. And what I want to do is I want to just answer a few obvious questions relating to what I think, to set a stake in the ground, and as simple as I can, as quickly as I can, give everybody a chance of understanding where I'm coming from when I visit some of the places I have lined up. What's not cool is I'm lost. Let's just have a look at that tree for a minute. Yeah, now I know where I am. The light there, hard to see on a GoPro, I realise, but all this really low light and these long cast shadows beaming through the forest floor does you so good. Oh, excuse me, amateur. Been walking for about one blister, which is about 1.5 miles for me, and that sun's dropping quite quick now. Seriously beautiful out here at this time of the night. Everybody's gone home, all the squirrels are slowing down. Yeah, it's really stunning, and you've got that smell in the air after a storm. Everything's fresh. It's a funny old trail to walk on the periphery of Shield. It's quite misleading because along the route you get all these little side paths and major paths leading you in different directions. This is not where I want to be going, so I know where we are now. But this isn't cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to backtrack, and I'm going to take a cheeky little left. I've got a feeling This is a prime example of what I mean. Just one turn too early or too late, and your night or day can become a 7-mile bimble instead of a 3-mile stroll. Oh, that's an uncomfortable smell of natural gas. What's that doing out here? It's not me. I've just become very mindful of the fact that I'm on a trail I'm not familiar with, and it's all downhill. I'm running out of daylight, and I've not even started to answer any of the questions that I had lined up to answer. Hitler's bunker? It's not really. We did get some bomb action in these woods, Second World War. There's a few sites where we have craters in the trees, and quite heavily bombed Sheffield north of here. Where the friar am I? Nice conch on the side of a silver birch over there. That'll make for a nice cookser. One day, I'm sure I'll trip over one. No doubt, literally. There's the exit to Hitler's bunker there. It's not really. Okay. I'm going to have to turn around if I go much further, because I'm 2 blisters into the forest now, and at 6 blisters I start to get ready to cry. Do you know what I think I'm going to have to do? Partially because I lost time because I forgot the boots, and now on top of that, so the sun's going down. I think I'm going to have to skip visiting the area that I wanted to recon for wild camp potential. Good news with that is it means I'm going to have to come back. How will I cope? The building over there, what do they call it? A wolf's lair? It's not really. There haven't been any wolves in here for quite a long time. 1 or 2 Labradors, Labradoodles, Cockapoos. Right, okay. I do know where I am now. Where I wanted to go is about another mile down this path. Bang a left into some pine forest. I could go that way, but that just loops round. It's a longer road. And if I go this way, I'm about 3 miles back to the car, so I have to go this route. Oh, it's a silver birch. How pretty that is. Oh, let's get a swink. That's a new one. Just going to get a swink of water. Okay. It's time for a cup of tea. Okay. I'll stop for a cup of tea. Oh, I've just spilt a lot. That's handy, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. Right, I'm just going to pour myself another cup of tea. First one was nice. Okay. Let me just dig into these questions. I had 7, and the first one is the most obvious. which is, do I believe that there was an original Robin Hood, the man on which the legend was based? And the answer to that is fundamentally yes. There's so much evidence to support there being a man alive in a time before all of the legends and ballads were written. And there are pointers and evidence to support the thought that there was a man that stories were told about that weren't written, it's hard to say this, that weren't written down and so widely publicised. But there is evidence you can conclude that society was worshipping the acts of a man commonly known as Robin Hood. There's one piece of evidence that is fact. It's not written like a story, but what it tells me is that there was a man that was living a life, the stories were being told about, and he was in this place here. He was in Sherwood Forest. And that information, that public information, is that by the year 1300, the records showed that there were no less than 8 men reported to have the name of Robin Hood in Nottinghamshire. And the interesting thing, furthermore, is that of that 8 men, 5 of them had an occupation documented as fugitives. Now, what does that say to us? What does that tell us? It's not just a popular name amongst gangsters. You know, these people were, and it was a common practice to change your name in this particular era, but these people were doing so on a scale that suggests popularity. It was a common practice. I doubt today we have many people called Robin Hood. Sure, there are some, but named at a time where the population was substantially smaller, where poverty was the norm, extreme poverty, where the diet was mostly vegetables, if you were lucky. I mean, this was a tyrannical time run by kings that were ultra powerful, enforced by their sheriffs. So for 8 men to effectively carry the name of Robin Hood by 1300, that tells us something. Read into it what we will. Personally, I think that tells us that in the recent history, in the 100 years prior to that, someone was doing the business, and that someone had a name of Robin Hood. And the reason I think specifically it wasn't Robert Hod or Robin Le Clerc or any other of the out there theories is because these men carried the name of Robin Hood. They didn't carry a name of Robert Hod. If they did, it would have been Robert Hod, Prince of Thieves by Kevin Costner. But that's not what we got. So anyway, cutting to the chase, do I believe there was an original Robin Hood? Without a shadow of a doubt, 100% yes. I am totally convinced. When? What time period do I think he lived? Now this is the fundamental of all of my research. This sets the precedent for Friar Tuck, Maid Marion, Little John, and Will Scarlet. Excuse me while I slurp my tea. Thank you. And the time period fundamentally is 1180 to 1280. But the bottom line for me personally is I'm 80% convinced that the original Robin Hood lived in the first half of that century. So that specifically is 1180 to 1230. Now that's narrow, and I've not heard that come from anywhere else. That's not a date that's been given to me by any research. That's my own conclusion. As I said before, what I've done is I've tried to discount and discredit as much as I can. So all of this is what comes from that effort. It's all what falls out of that. Now sometimes I make a conclusion and I see it backed up somewhere else, and that's cool. I mean, It's nice to see, but it could just be purely coincidence. So this is all entirely just my own conclusions, my own personal thoughts, and nothing else. I'm not trying to influence anyone. I'm not picking information from anywhere. I'm not trying to justify anything. This is exactly as I've built it. So if he lived in a time of around 1180 to 1250, it leads on to other natural questions for me, which is that time period an acceptable time period for the characters that were legendarily along with Robin, the likes of Friar Tuck and Maid Marion and so on? Is the 1180 to 1280 time period a suitable time period for them to have existed? Did we have friars in that area is one key question. And that is an absolute categoric yes. That time period couldn't have been any more prime. And there's a lot to be said about Friar Tuck and this local geography. There's an awful lot of links in a chain that really do come together quite sweetly. And we'll cover those in time. So that essentially is what I've come to a conclusion of. I'll probably need to do a video about dates on its own, and I'll draw some timelines out on paper and do some screenshots and so on. It's a lot to take in, listening to me burble on. So that's the bottom line, 1180 to 1280, and it's a qualified time period. Third question, did the Merry Men exist? Merry Men, does that include Maid Marion or not? Does that include Friar Tuck or not? Well, I'll say the Merry Men is all of them. All the primary characters. Maid Marion, Friar Tuck, Will Scarlet, Little John. They're the primary characters. And did they exist? Well, there are 2 sites I have so far, possibly 3. I visited the site of Friar Tuck's well recently. There's a lot to go through there. There's a lot to the Friar Tuck story. Coming up, I want to visit a site where Will Scarlet and Maid Marion are known to have resided, shall we say. Whether they were born there, lived there, died there, married there, worked there, bought there, Greg's there, I don't know. But what I do know is there's a graveyard that we can visit with evidence in place to show an ancient relationship to the ancient characters that were some of the Merry Men from the original Robin Hood story, not subsequent layer cakes of Robin Hood's story. So I'm going back to the bottom tier, the very first one laid on this cake rack. Yes, in answer to the question, did the Merry Men exist? Categorically they did. If Robin Hood existed, so did the Merry Men. They are symbiotic, they rely on each other. The story and all of this layer cake is built on the fact that those characters were in place. Question 4. Is there any evidence to suggest... Let's try again. Is there any evidence to suggest any of the Merry Men would not have been present in that era? I've kind of covered that one, waffling as I do. There isn't. There is no evidence that would bring to question the existence of Maid Marion, Friar Tuck. He's a prime candidate for this era. Will Scarlet, or Little John. I was going to say Long John then. That's not very cool, is it? There is none. I've come across nothing to suggest that they would not have existed in this era. In fact, the contrary. I've come across evidence that tells me there's a high probability that these characters would have existed in exactly this era, right at this time. I'll just change the battery in the GoPro. Took the spider out of my tea. I'm just going to let that sun drop by another 3 fingers, and then I'm going to have to make my way. Okay, question 5, and the most sensitive of them perhaps, certainly the most controversial. Where did Robin Hood live? Well, based on so many factors, all I can do is give you my own personal conclusion. It's all my own personal belief. I don't expect anybody to be influenced by this, but if you look at the geography of the era, I'm talking about 1180 through 1280, the natural canopy of Sherwood stretched for a considerable way. It incorporates many of the areas that there are beliefs that Robin Hood lived there, came from there, died there, whatever they make claim to. But fundamentally, in this era, in this century, with the geography as it was, with the characters that were surrounding the legend, the Friar, the Maid, Little John, and so on, all of the evidence suggests Robin Hood came from the Forest of Sherwood, which is actually the Shire of Nottingham for that era, which is a big area, big ass old area. It stretches north, south, east and west between the other four shires. Nottinghamshire was effectively one big forested shire, the whole of it. North of Nottingham City, north of where the castle is today, is where I am right now. This is Sherwood Forest in 2019, and it's just a small piece of what it used to be. However, surrounding it, we do have many other larger expanses of woodland forest and park, where they would just be extensions of the original Sherwood Forest back into this era. And there's no evidence, this is the fundamental, this is the main point, there is no evidence to make solid claim of an original Robin Hood, I'm being really careful with my words here, of an original Robin Hood originating from anywhere else other than Sherwood Forest of 1200, of the Shire of Nottingham, circa 1180, 1280. No evidence anywhere. Period. That's it. There are layers through the centuries since 1200 of places up and down the country even making claim to Robin Hood being their man. He's born here, he died here, he robbed here, he did this here, he did that here. And often is the case, these stories and tales actually refer back to a pub song, a play, something from 1479, 1492, 1576. I can go on with dates, I don't know what it relates to, but I know they're significant. And these things are very straightforward when you map them over this time period. The layer cake builds up quite well. That wind's just got up, that sun's definitely dropped. Might be down 2 fingers, I'm going to have to put a wiggle on. So, where did he come from? Sherwood Forest. Where did he live out his legendary activities? Sherwood Forest, city of Nottingham. He passed the water that's the current site of Friar Tuck's well, her holy well, a pagan worship site of pre-invasion eras, even back to between 500 and 800 AD. That site goes back way before any story of any Robin Hood. And it was significant then as it is today. Was it significant in 1200 when Robin wanted to get to the city of Nottingham to go and visit his mate and sheriff, the castle, which was little more than a glorified bushcraft shelter? So yeah, that's how I see it. Hey, stop fighting, you two. Yeah, you heard me. Leave her alone. You bloody naughty squirrel. Go on, get off with you. I don't know, kids. Where is Robin Hood buried? He isn't. No evidence. No cemetery, no grave, no Kirklees Priory resting place, no stone in a wood by a tree. He wasn't. the chances are he got fed to the pigs. If he died whilst he was captive, he was probably hung, quartered, stuck on a spike, dug in a pit. You name any number of horrible things that could be done to a human being. Back in that era, it was common. That's if he died in captivity. If he didn't, the chances are where he died is where they laid him to rest. There will be a mound somewhere in and around this area. I could be sat on the top of Robin Hood right now. Any one of us could as we walk through this place. And that's the honest truth as to why I believe there is no resting place, there is no shrine. The stories were built up in the 15th century. The legend was made then that if he lived 400 or 500 years before that, where's his grave going to be? It's going to be where all the other graves are from that era. The guy was an outlaw, a fugitive, he owed money. He eventually pledged allegiance to a king, if you want to listen to the stories, but would that have earned him a marble tomb? No, not a chance. So anybody who's looking for where Robin is buried or wants to try to find it, I would seriously say go and look for something else instead. You're more likely to find other things than you are that. Okay, we're down 2.5 fingers and I've got 2 questions left, so let me put a real spurt on now. Oh, sorry. Where is he buried? That's covered that one. Last one then. Was there more than one Robin Hood? Well, that's a cracker to finish up on, that is. Was there more than one Robin Hood? He says, zipping up his pouch. Yes, there was. There absolutely was more than one Robin Hood. And this is what tells me that there was an original Robin Hood. This is fact, public record. By the year 1300, I think I might have already covered this. I'm sorry if I have. I'm going to have to repeat myself all the same. It's a logical question that some people will ask. By 1300, there were at least 8 known Robin Hoods. And of that 8, 5 of them had occupations documented as fugitives. Now that's recent history. That's current popularity. To name your kids or to rename yourself in the shadow of a known outlaw. Whatever he was doing, and this is 1300, don't forget, whatever he was doing prior to 1300 earned him sufficient popularity with the masses of poor people for them to name themselves or their children after him, and for them to repeat his practice. They became outlaws, fugitives. Does that tell us it's unlikely there was an original Robin Hood? Or does that suggest that actually we're far more likely to be looking at the story of what was the living carnation of a very popular man at a recent time in history, where it was a plus to name your kids Robin Hood. Just going to finish my tea. Okay. I think that's the most important questions to set the stake in the ground for what's to come. I've got a few places lined up that I want to visit. A couple of graveyards on that list, so that should be quite exciting. Well, exciting if you're into graveyards, that is. A couple of stones we need to go and find. Check out how old they actually look. Do they look like ancient stones, or is it concrete from 1973? Let's go back the short route. Now they say leave no trace, but I'm sorry about my tea. It was a spillage. I'm sure that ants will come and have a drink in a bit. Just straighten up this GoPro. There we go. Let's have some tea. Hopefully catch a sight of the cattle down here, and then we'll call it a wrap. Oh, we're going to have to backtrack. I can see the ladies over here. Just say good evening to them. I don't think they'll eat banana skin, will they? No, I can't do that. Tropical fruit. Banana flavoured bit. No, I won't say that. God. Shows you how people's minds work, don't it? Banana flavoured beef. What? How you doing? wonder if I can walk across here quite easily. Might be able to, just look out for ticks. Oh, perhaps not. Oh, let's give it a go. Oh. How you doing? Hey, what are you up to? You're like that Morrison's vegetable, aren't you? Yeah. It's like wonky veg. You got wonky horns. Aren't you beautiful? Hey? You are, yeah. And you're beautiful as well. Oh, incredible animals. Hello. What are you doing? Hey? What are you up to? What are you on there? Trying to get a drink of milk? Sorry, I want to interrupt you. Are you pretty? Hey? Your ginger ears. Very symmetrical, those horns. Like wonky beef over here. Oh, this is amazing to see all the cattle just walking wild through the forest. What a treat. That's enough cow ass. I think I've got more than my share of cattle flies though. We'll see you later. Oh, steady. I was a bit drunk. Too much Merlot. Well, that was me last night. Right, come on. Stop talking to yourself. Let's put a wiggle on. Oh, wow. Check out the freshly shaven legs. Make sure that there's no little black specks on there. Trying to pass on there. Ouch, 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 ouch. What do you call it? I don't know what they... Wheels disease, Lyme's disease. Lyme's disease. We don't want that. Oh, face full of cobweb. Ah, you've not been through the forest unless you get a face full of cobweb. I'm sure we're going to see a human sooner or later. Never been through this place this quiet. It's really something else. Okay, I'll keep filming as I wander back, but really for today I'm done. I just wanted to try and set a stake in the ground, answer a few obvious questions. I know I've not done a great job, I'm sorry about that, but things will get better and I will put more effort in, I promise. I'll move on to next episode. We'll probably visit the Friar Tuck story in full, try and keep each one close together. We visited the well. I'd like to tie the well into the Abbey, history of Tuck, significance of the era, 1180 to 1280, and why that suits him down to a T. And then we'll move on. We'll carry on and pick up with some of the other characters. And eventually I'll wrap up with a conclusion that I promised earlier. If you've not seen the previous video, visit down to Friar Tuck's Well, St Lawrence's Spring, as it was called before that, a pagan site. And that's on my channel. Try and pop a card up if I can work out how to do it, and if I can't, I'll stick a link in there, that bit. Okay, I'm going to keep quiet now, enjoy the last stroll through the dying light. I might even stop off and pick up a few photographs with what's left. Golden hour and all. Until next time, take care of one another. If you can't be good, be careful. I'll see you soon. Peace.